So, a stereotype is a thought or belief about a group of individuals that may or may not reflect reality. However, in order to correctly define a stereotype, we have to talk about what makes a stereotype effective as a mode of oppression in a given society. So, stereotypes are believed more robustly by those with little knowledge of group members. In addition to this, in order for something to be a stereotype, it is known by most of the members in a society. This knowledge is usually not explicitly transmitted, but it is expressed in social media. It's also expressed via the way people act. So it's taught implicitly. So the theory that we'll be investigating in the reading is that stereotypes function as a threat to victims of the stereotype. So that's going to be really important to think about. Stereotypes persist in society when there's a possibility that individuals will have experiences that confirm them. The funny thing about this is the existence of the stereotype drastically increases the chance that an individual's traits will be confirmed by others. In other words, will be seen as a stereotype. So the chance that a person's traits or behaviors will be seen as stereotypical and that they will be seen as confirming the stereotype increases when there is a stereotype. Okay? So thereby, this forms a self-fulfilling prophecy or positive feedback loop. So finally, most stereotypes are in fact not true. Okay? So here I've drawn this little cartoon. You've got a stereotyped individual in group A, and you have an observer in any group, potentially even including group A. So the stereotyped individual commits an action, and then the observer believes that that action happened because they are X, or they are in group A, and people in group A do action X. Okay? So, in other words, there's a stereotype for a group of people, right? Maybe let's take one that's less offensive, though it operates as an agent of oppression anyways. Let's say the stereotype is Asians are better at math, okay? So you're in a class with an Asian person, and they get an answer to a question right on a math question that nobody else gets right, and you're going to see that single incident as confirming your stereotype, even though that stereotype is not necessarily based in reality. So, stereotype threat occurs when people are aware of a stereotype for a given group that they belong to, and they experience anxiety or concern that they might confirm the stereotype. So the question that our authors addressed was the question, are women worse at math and science? Okay? So the stereotype is that men are better at math and science and that women are worse. Okay? And previous authors have come up with the idea that there was a genetically rooted difference between male and female math ability. But class members, I have to ask you, when the major genetic difference between men and women is literally just the expression of the SRY gene, which granted sets up a series of events or a cascade of events, does that really seem likely that there's a genetically rooted difference between male and female math ability? Well, the authors of our article propose that the difference between male and female math ability is caused by gender role socialization and stereotype threat. So previously, scientists had said that the difference was caused by gender role socialization. Okay, so that's another proposition there. But our authors say that there's something else operating here called stereotype threat. So the performance is caused by stereotype threat. Okay, and now, in your stereotype response, I want you to, one, talk about differences between males and females that we came up with in class, and I posted those photographs of lecture notes for people that were absent. And then two, write a paragraph or a couple of paragraphs explaining what the authors found out about stereotype threat and how it was relevant to women's math performance. Now, in that part of your response, I'm going to look that you wrote it in a way that indicates you couldn't have wrote it if you didn't read the article. Okay, so you got to be very specific in your summary of this article and correct. Not only did you read it, but you understood the 3 different trials and how they worked. Okay? So something we should add to this definition of stereotype here is that stereotypes are society specific. Every society, stereotypes, are specific to a culture or a society. All right, so these are in flux, okay? And so for a lot of reasons, they shouldn't be trusted as fact. Anyways, let me get back to the stereotype writing. The last thing that you need to do in that stereotype threat response is you need to connect your personal experience to stereotype, to a time when you saw someone being stereotyped, okay, or you yourself were stereotyped, or a time when you felt stereotype threat related to a stereotyped trait of a group that you belong to, okay? But I want a short paragraph or two about you and how the idea of stereotype connects to you. The next video, I will talk about the differences between males and females, and I will also explain the difference between sex and gender, both biologically and socially for gender.